Hey, welcome back to the channel, my fellow weather junkies. I'm your host, meteorologist Greg Majeski, your trusted weather source here, bringing you the weather without all that social media hype, here on your Tuesday, June 10th, 2025. Now, we got a lot to talk about for this update for you. We're going to talk about still a kind of a wet and rainy pattern across the south. We're also going to be talking about the tropics. We'll give you an update on that as well. And then we're going to talk about some changing conditions I'm expecting a little bit later in the month, where I think the storm track is going to shift further north. That's going to allow the heat to build across the middle of the country. And then we're also going to talk about, with that pattern change, probably a more pronounced influx of smoke coming out of those Canadian wildfires coming back into the areas of the Midwest and into the Northeast. We're getting some of that now, but I think it was really going to pick up a little bit more potentially as we go later into the month of June. Now, before we get going into this report, first I want to say thank you to any new subscribers out there. And if you haven't subscribed just yet, please hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell so you're alerted on future content. And if you appreciate this report, or if you have a weather-related question, please post it down below. Give me a thumbs up. It does help with the almighty YouTube algorithm. All right, with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the latest out in the tropics. All right, we're going to start off here out in the Eastern Pacific, where we do have a couple of named storms out here. We have Barbara and Cosme. Hope I'm saying that correctly. But both these out here in the Eastern Pacific, both of them are forecast to weaken back into depressions and stay out here. So not expected to be a factor there. We do have another area disturbed weather back behind this one. This one could become Delilah in the next day or so. We'll watch that closely. But again, right now, those storms are just sitting way out in the Eastern Pacific, and they're not forecasted to be an issue along the Mexican coast, or do I expect any of that moisture to really kind of work its way into the continental United States. So that's some good news there. Now, as we're getting into the start of hurricane season, obviously here in June, we're just getting started here in the Atlantic season. So we're kind of on the bottom end of the scale right now. So we're just kind of sitting right about in here. And of course, the peak of the hurricane season comes in around September the 10th. So we got a lot of season still ahead of us. Now, for the month of June, we're looking into these areas. We're talking about areas of the Gulf of Mexico and off the eastern seaboard there. Now, the Gulf of Mexico water temperatures have been running above normal. That's been kind of enhancing the rain across the southern portion of the United States. But right now, there doesn't appear to be any imminent development right now. In fact, the next 7 days, the National Hurricane Center has it all quiet out there, and hopefully it'll stay that way for a little bit longer. Now, right now, looking across the Atlantic, what we're seeing out there is pretty quiet. There's still a pretty decent amount of Saharan dust still kind of blowing off the west coast there of Africa. Got a couple of waves down here far south, just off the coast of South America. But otherwise, the Caribbean's looking quiet, as well as the Gulf of Mexico, not seeing anything that we'll need to concern ourselves with at this time. Shifting gears over to the severe weather season, which, by the way, if you think it's been pretty busy, well, I think you'd be right. You notice all the plots over there, all those red dots, those are all tornadoes so far here in 2025. There have been 1,113 of them so far this season. So to kind of give you an idea how that relates to normal, that black line you see right there, that's considered normal. So we're running up definitely above average here. We're a little bit below where we were last year at this time, but still a very active season. The only good news I can give you is that at least in the short term, the next few days, we get a little bit of a battle pause, shall we say, here, as far as the storm and the tornado threat that's going to be out there. So let's go ahead and take a look at your day one outlook here, the latest from the Storm Prediction Center, as we do have a slight risk here across portions of western Texas here. Marginal risk kind of extending from a cold front here from the northeast back in here through the southeast right here. Got a little pocket up here across areas of Montana, and another one back over here toward areas of Oregon and into California. So a couple of little areas to watch here for today. Let's go ahead and break it down by the category. We'll look at your tornado threat here first. Obviously running the highest there, only about 2% across portions of western Texas into the zone. So we're talking here Fort Davis, Pecos, Fort Stockton, very limited population centers out here, shall we say, for right now. So that's your tornado outlook here for today. Wind threat, obviously that'll be in the greatest area, right in that area in yellow where that slight risk was. But obviously we got the brown hue, 5% there across the east coast, as well as up toward Montana and back over toward Oregon as well. And as far as the hail threat, that's going to be, again, a little pocket, maybe a bit in the northeast, a little brown pocket up there across New Hampshire, into Vermont and Massachusetts and parts of New York. But here across Alabama, back over toward Texas, again, that yellow area, that slight risk is. You see that shaded area right in there? That's the highest risk. That's what they do when they shade that in from the Storm Prediction Center, give you an idea of where to kind of focus in on the hail. But probably going to see upwards of 1 to 2 inch hail in that zone, and a couple of pockets up here into Montana as well as into Oregon. Now, like I mentioned, the days ahead are looking a little bit of quiet. We get a little bit of a pause here. I know storm chasers will appreciate this. Just some marginal areas to kind of watch here for your Wednesday here across portions of Iowa and into areas of Illinois. again across some of the parts of the Intermountain region and back down here toward Texas. Now, obviously, day-to-day fluctuations do occur. We might see a slight comeback up for tomorrow, but we'll wait and see. Day 3, again, looking fairly quiet, not seeing any major outbreaks here. Again, you're looking here from portions of Minnesota back toward Colorado, and again, staying kind of active down in Texas. Boy, poor Texas, they've been so wet and so stormy this spring, they just can't seem to get a break. Now, one of the things I really do pay attention to, especially going into the summer months, is the excessive rainfall forecast or the outlook. And it's because this time of year, these thunderstorms, they can be very robust and they can dump quick amounts of rain. We have more flood deaths every year than any other natural disaster. So you got to pay attention to where the excessive rainfall is going to fall, because flooding could be an issue, especially for, people going tubing or enjoying the water there in the summertime. So again, looking at your day 1 outlook here for today, we're seeing that once again down here toward Texas. We're really beating back the drought conditions back in Texas. That's for sure here. Some heavy rain here across the northeast and across the southeast, obviously with that cold front we just discussed here coming on through. And we're going to continue with these pockets, especially across Texas there going into your Wednesday here. Parts of Oklahoma and Texas once again under the gun for some heavy rains. A couple of pockets up here across the areas of Iowa and Minnesota, and across the Midwest and across the southeast going into your Wednesday. How about Thursday? Well, got a couple of pockets there. Watch Thursday as well. Again, thunderstorms up here across Iowa and into Minnesota. And again, back down here toward areas of Oklahoma and Texas once again. And like I said, it's really beating back those drought conditions there. And that'll continue day 4 going into the end of the work week. Again, seeing a little pocket of some heavy rain there across Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Texas. Here across portions of the Great Lakes of Michigan and Wisconsin. And back over toward Montana as well. So as you can see, every day of the week, especially summertime. And here's your day 5 outlook going into the weekend. There from the Midwest back into the southeast, you always run that chance of seeing some excessive rainfall, some isolated flooding. So please be careful if you're out and about and you come across any flooding conditions. Remember, if it's flooded, turn around, don't drown. That's the best advice I can give you. So checking out our satellite imagery here on your Tuesday, a couple things I do want to point out. We are getting a little bit of that smoke here from Canada. We were kind of highlighting this last week. We thought Monday and Tuesday we would get some more that would drop on down, and we're seeing some of that right now. Now, the good news is this should be starting to clear out in the days ahead. The other thing we're going to be watching here is that we've got a nice little cluster of thunderstorms here across portions of Texas, setting up some severe weather there. And obviously with this cold front in here, that's going to be the boundary there to kind of flare up some of those thunderstorms here as we go into the afternoon hours. So looking at that surface map, you kind of see this meandering front right now. The stationary boundary coming on. And, this time of year, when you got stationary boundaries and you got old outflow boundaries from thunderstorms, you just got to watch and see where they're going to kind of clash like rocks in a pond to see where we're going to get those thunderstorms to flare up. And we're going to get some more, obviously, with that daytime heating here for today. So looking at that cluster of storms there across portions of central Texas, looks like this may catch some parts of kind of heading into portions of Dallas as well, kind of getting in here on some of that activity. So again, this is just off toward the south there. You see some thunderstorms here, Claiborne, but these coming into Killeen and Waco and coming into Austin here, some pretty good robust thunderstorms here, and we'll probably get a few severe with this as well as this continues to push off toward the east. Now, currently, not seeing any major watches or warnings out there. A couple of warnings we've had out there in Texas. We do have some heat advisories up there across portions of the Pacific Northwest. Now, the good news for the Pacific Northwest is that we are going to be seeing a pattern change. I think it's going to cool the temperatures off there as we go deeper into the month of June. But for everybody else in the middle of the country, I think things are going to begin to heat up just a little bit. So let's you and I go ahead and do a deep dive here into the latest forecast models. We're going to first look at the intermediate NAM model, the higher resolution version of this, how we say the 3 kilometer, a little better resolution. And you can kind of see where our main little systems are going to be kind of traversing the country here for today. So got a little disturbance here kind of running up into Thursday there. But let me go ahead and slow this down. I'll go ahead and pause this for you here. And we'll go ahead and step again. We got this boundary along the East Coast here. Obviously, this is coming in for this morning as this is kind of moving on out here. And as we go throughout the day here on your Tuesday, there's that cluster of storms there across portions of Texas there, obviously see there. And with the daytime heating, we're going to see things begin to flare up here across areas. You got another disturbance. This is where that slight risk will be for this afternoon. And you see just some spotty activity, some pretty good rains up across Maine here for this evening. And going into the overnight, those storms will kind of continue. Looks like a pretty good cluster of storms here coming into Dallas as we go into it tomorrow morning there. And some rain and scatter storms across portions of South Dakota, Minnesota, Idaho, and even Oregon showing a little activity. How about some morning storms there across areas of Michigan as well, heading into Wednesday morning. Now we're going to your Wednesday afternoon here, going into tomorrow. Again, I kind of see unsettled activity across portions of Idaho, Montana, Up into Canada, getting some rains up there. They wish they could get it where the fires are. That would really be helpful. Getting some scattered storms here across Texas and Oklahoma as well for your Wednesday afternoon. And as this goes on by, you kind of see with it going into the evening hours, we lose a little bit of that cape. It's just scattered storms here across the south. And these thunderstorms down here across Texas, they will be some gully washers, to say the least. And you see some pretty good thunderstorms up here across Wyoming and into Montana as well, with some storms and some there across areas of South Dakota and in toward Minnesota. And this will continue into your Thursday morning. It looks like a little upper level disturbance there, kind of riding into portions of Oklahoma there. You kind of see it riding around there into Thursday morning. So looks like a bit of a wet start there for portions of Oklahoma City, maybe getting into Tulsa there, going into your Thursday morning. And then we'll go to ride this out to the afternoon. So you can kind of see the unsettled weather here across the high plains with some showers and thunderstorms there. And basically what I'm expecting is that this long pattern is going to start to shift, where we're going to see things begin to shift further north. And I'm really concerned about areas of going into the Great Lakes and into the Northeast here as we look deeper into the month of June. I'm going to show you the European model to show you what I'm talking about there. Now, as far as the precipitation, obviously, wherever these thunderstorms land up, that's where you're going to get your gully washers. Texas is a big shine up right up there. You see a lot of these heavier rainfall amounts in here. I see a 3-inch plus here. Anyway, you see these concentrated areas, 2-inch plus there. The southeast, South Georgia, showing 1.5 inches there. Here's a cluster of storms here across portions of the Dakotas and Minnesota, lighting up 4 inches there. So we got some scattered storms up here, scattered across Texas and the southeast and the northeast as well. Most of the west coast is fairly quiet here. Again, this is your 60-hour total taking you out till Thursday afternoon. Now, as far as what we're expecting with the temperatures, all right, it's going to be pretty hot here and steamy for your Tuesday afternoon. Look at all the 90s up here into the plains here, from South Dakota down into areas of Kansas. There's a 92, there's a 97, so it's pretty hot. Obviously, we highlighted the Pacific Northwest. They're dealing with temperatures in the 90s. Again, I think this is going to cool down a little bit. When I show you the long-range pattern, you'll understand why. Obviously, the heat in Southern California and the Southwest is supposed to be. They're back above 100 degrees. And the interior sections of California sitting in the hundreds. Not bad across the Northeast, Ohio River Valley, only because of the clouds and rains. Even the Southeast is not that bad with temperatures in the 80s. You know, we are getting into June. It should be running. We start getting into the 90s, and we're not seeing a whole lot of that here for today. Let's go into tomorrow morning. Let's go into your Wednesday morning time period here. We'll go take this forward here to 7 o'clock. Again, mild, kind of sticky there across the southeast, obviously. The northeast not looking bad. Temperatures up here in the 50s in the Ohio River Valley as well. Not bad. Look at this. Got some 40s up here across portions of Minnesota and into North Dakota. So that's very refreshing and cool out here in the Intermountain region. Obviously warm in the southwest in the low 70s there for your Wednesday morning. How about afternoon highs? Let's go take this out into your Wednesday afternoon there. We'll stop about 5 o'clock again. Kind of cooling down a little bit here across portions of Minnesota a little bit. We're beating back that heat a little bit out of the Dakotas, but still plenty hot in here in Nebraska, sitting in the hundreds. Again, the heat's really building across the southwest, and we're starting to recover some of these temperatures across the southeast, getting back in the upper 80s, even some 90s down across eastern Georgia into Florida as that heat will start to build. And then overnight lows going into Thursday morning here, as we'll go and take you out to Thursday morning real quick. Again, seeing a lot of warmer or mild air. You start seeing that 60s and 70s really taking more and more of the country, and the green is starting to slowly go away as we get deeper and closer into the official start of summer, which is the 21st, obviously, and we're going to start seeing things begin to warm up. And really, when I show you this is kind of the jet stream pattern here. I'm going to go to watch you this. This is the European model here, the overnight European model. And the one thing I want you to notice here with the jet stream is just it is a little active, but it gets more active out here on the West Coast. So the West Coast, I expect things to cool down there. But notice this big ridging here taking place here as we look deeper into the month. So whenever you get that kind of ridging, you get that kind of high pressure to build up in the middle of the country, that's usually an indication of building heat that we're expecting. And the model's been kind of hinting at this for a little while now. As we get deeper into the month, we're going to see things ridge out here. So that means we're going to see, again, cooler weather across the northwest. We're going to see building heat across the middle of the country. And with this northwest flow, when I get to the end of this, I want to highlight this as well. As this kind of ridges in here like this, you see this configuration here. This is going to bring that Canadian smoke back in across the Great Lakes and into the northeast. It's a very strong jet there going in toward the 21st and 22nd. So if that holds up pretty true there, and that kind of stays in place, that means that we're going to see more of that smoke coming in. It also means we may see more complex storms develop up here in the high plains and kind of come on down. Again, that derecho effect, which we really haven't had one so far this year. We flirted with one over the weekend, but if we do get one in the high plains to drop down into the Midwest or into the Northeast, that's something I'll watch as we get closer or deeper into the month of June. Now, as far as the overall pattern here, looking at the height anomaly, again, You kind of see this unsettled weather here across the areas of the Northwest. You see the orange here. That's that ridging of high pressure building in there. And again, along that boundary, along where that high pressure boundary is in that blue zone right in there, I'm going to back this up just a little bit. Again, right in here, this is where we're going to watch for those potential thunderstorm clusters to kind of ride in between here. So you got the big high pressure system, really stands up nicely there on the 22nd, which is like your first full day of summer there. And a big high pressure ridge there means you're going to see building heat. We'll see cooler temperatures there across the Northwest and into New England. But it looks like things really start to heat up there in the middle of the country as we go deeper into the month of June. Looking at your forecast, we're going to focus in here on the next 7 days, okay? We just did the first 2. We're going to take you on up for the next week. Again, anything beyond 7 days is an extrapolation, and you're just kind of guessing at that point, all right? So what we're seeing right now going into your Thursday afternoon, obviously, is we got this unsettled weather here across the south. That has been pretty wet all spring long, and the trend looks like it's going to continue. Even with that ridging, you still may get some weaknesses that might get trapped underneath that dome and play bumper cars with each other. So we'll see that wet pattern continues across the southeast here, and it does going into the weekend. Looks definitely staying unsettled there across the mid-south, across portions of the Great Lakes for heading into Friday, and really going into Saturday too. Saturday, look at a lot of the Ohio River Valley here across the southeast is going to remain unsettled for both Saturday and Sunday. So you're looking at pretty relatively high rain chances here for both days. You notice it's here pretty good coverage here across portions of the Midwest, the southeast. Here in the middle of the country starts to light up a little bit here going into Sunday. So looks like a remaining unsettled weekend, unfortunately, here for the eastern third of the United States. Going in towards your Monday, let's take a look at that as we go into your Monday afternoon or Monday evening. It looks like the East Coast gets here. The Southeast still looking a little unsettled. Looks like an old boundary kind of getting stuck there. And we're going to watch the high plains here for severe weather with some of the thunderstorms up here as well going into early next week. And then we'll go ahead and wrap this up finally by looking at your Tuesday period here. Again, looks like a low pulling off the eastern seaboard. Little unsettled here across the middle of the country, across portions of Minnesota, back into Nebraska, and down along Texas and Louisiana once again. So looks like a wet and active stormy period here we got to watch for here, but otherwise really not looking too bad here for most of the country. The big thing, I think, is beyond the 7-day, really building heat here across a big portion of the country. Looking at that rainfall forecast, as we just kind of saw the next 7 days, it's looking awfully wet, especially here across the south central portion of the United States, Texas, areas here into the northeast. You got these thunderstorm clusters that'll kind of drop down across areas of Montana, going into areas of Minnesota and the Great Lakes. So this is looking unsettled. The south central especially, and in the mid-Atlantic there. So it's going to look like it's going to be stormy here for the next 7 days, especially going into this upcoming weekend, as it looks like we're in store for a fairly stormy pattern. So with all that put together, let's finally wrap things up by looking at the Climate Prediction Center here. And again, this outlook here going out from the 15th to the 19th, I kind of concur with what I'm seeing here. Again, you're looking at below normal temperatures here in the Northwest. Big heat up here across the middle of the country, a little below here in the Northeast. That kind of lines up with what we're seeing there. Remember what I showed you there on the 22nd, and especially going into that period there. It looks like we're going to kind of continue that. So it looks like that will line up pretty well with what long-range models are showing. And even on here, going up a little bit deeper, either at normal or slightly below normal across the Northwest, it looks like a big part of the country, as we go deeper into June, is going to start to heat up. We're going to see above normal temperatures, probably in the range of 5 to 10 degrees, especially in those darker areas here across areas of the Four Corners and maybe parts of the Southeast. Precipitation-wise, we're going to continue to stay wet, especially here in the east. Especially across the areas of the Midwest and the Southeast, a little below here across portions of the Intermountain region. The Northwest starts to get some rainfall now as the track begins to shift off toward the north here as we look at your days from the 15th through the 19th, and then going into the 8th to the 14th. Well, it looks like we're going to see things begin to stay pretty wet here across a big portion of the country, either slightly above or a little above normal with the precipitation, especially up here across portions of the high plains and into areas of Minnesota and into Wisconsin, and a little dry out here in the Intermountain region. So I would say the good news from what I'm seeing so far for the next 2 weeks is not seeing like real summertime drought really kicking on in. We are anticipating warmer temperatures, and of course, when you start getting a heat dome to kind of build up, especially if you get any kind of blocking pattern, then you kind of worry about the drought conditions kind of coming back at you. Hey, that's going to wrap things up for this edition. Again, we're trying to make a big push to 10,000 subscribers. So if you can please consider helping our little channel out, please consider hitting that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you're alerted on future content. And if you like what you see, or if you ever have a weather-related question, I want you to think of me as your personal weatherman here. Make sure you leave a comment down below. Give me a thumbs up. It does help with that almighty YouTube algorithm especially when you're trying to build a small little channel. All right, that's it for now. You guys take it easy, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you on the next update. Till then, y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.